when I was in London at the beginning of this year, I interviewed this detective for Scotland Yard who is now retired, and his name is John Wedgard. I don't know if you've heard of him,
Yep.
Charlie.
Yeah.
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 Have you spoken with him yet?
No, I haven't, but I know who
Okay.
he is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would, if you'd be open to it, I could definitely send you his info because I think
Yeah,
you guys
man.
would have a lot to talk about because
Yeah.
something similar happened to him in the fact that he was a whistleblower, and it basically had to do with child prostitution and
Hmm.
but prostitution in general, but especially with children, and it basically got shut down. The
Yeah.
investigation did exactly how you described, but I think it would be cool for you guys to chat about that. But as far as where you're at in Colorado, Charlie,
Yeah.
what is, because we actually haven't even discussed this pandemic yet. What is the situation like? Because you guys are on lockdown. I don't know who your governor is, but you guys are on lockdown like the rest of us, as far as I know.
Yeah. So it's so when it all kind of went down, we were in Florida, and so we were like, because we were on vacation, and we at
Nice.
my in-laws beach house, and so it was really normal there. There wasn't um we knew it was happening. Obviously, then after towards the end of that week, then it started. This is the week of, I don't know. This is maybe 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
we're talking like the middle of March, right when it all started to kick off. Then we started to go into these restaurants that we'd been going into for years and years, but we'd gone into a restaurant earlier that week and everything was fine. Then by the end of the week, it was like every other table had been removed, for the social distancing stuff. We're like, all right, well, this is slowly, kicking in. And by the time we got back to Colorado, they had made the decision that everyone was on lockdown. And so I work from home. So to me, it wasn't as big of a deal. My wife's, the company my wife works for has, 500 people. They fired half of them. And she's in the travel industry. So
Wow.
boom. So there's a lot of jobs going away, a lot of reduction in salary and things like that. So it was, we've noticed it in that sense. When you go out and go to the grocery store or anything, there's just fewer people. It's just weird. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just surreal. There's a movie, there's an old 80s movie that I liked, like when I was like, I don't know, 11 years old or something. It was called Night of the Comet. And in this movie, a comet goes by Earth, and it kills it turns everybody into like little piles of dust, but a few people made it through, and they all had unique reasons for it, but it had something to do with one guy was like sleeping in a barn that had a tin roof, and that tin roof protected him from the cosmic rays of the comet, whatever. But anyway, he wound up going out into public with a couple of the people that made it with him, and they were just like, there was nobody there. There were all these cars parked everywhere. A guy drives by in a Ferrari and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Hey, I like your car." And he's like, "Great." He's like, "Oh, you like it? I have 86 more of them at home." He's just been going around collecting all these things. And it made me think of Night of the Comet, because it's like, there's nobody out, but all the stores are still there. So it's not like everything is like abandoned. So, I mean, some of them are shut down, but it's just a very bizarre, vibe out here.
Yeah. There's a horror thriller that I watched a couple years ago, actually, when I was in high school, and it's literally the only horror movie that I can somewhat tolerate. But it's called The Crazies, and it kind of reminded me of that, because they would go into stores and everybody would seem to be normal, but they were actually infected, some of them. And
I've heard about
weird.
that. I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard.
It's actually pretty good writing for a horror movie, because most of them are just gore sessions, which I'm not about personally. But if you're about that, that's cool. But yeah, I like the writing and it's pretty good for a horror movie in that sense. But yeah, it's weird, man. Yesterday was different because it was really beautiful here in the PNW. I think in Washington too, people are saying it was really sunny yesterday, because it's been raining a lot and been really overcast. So that was nice, but you did see quite a few people out because of that. But what about when you guys, unless, I don't know if you're the one who's doing the errands or not, as far as running out into town, but are people wearing your area or?
Yeah. People are wearing masks. Some of them are wearing gloves. Some people are just like, this is all nonsense. Like, I'm not really worried about it. And some people are overly worried about it. And it's hard to kind of tell where to be in this spectrum of concern. I mean, I think that if you're somebody that's has a compromised immune system, maybe stay home or something. But I think that goes for anything, right? I mean, like if you're really compromised and it's hardcore bad flu season, you'd want to be careful about that. Don't go to grandma's house, right? If grandma's older and you've got little kids that maybe, common sense, but shutting down the whole economy because of this, I'll tell you what, I have some, I tried to be as measured as I could early on until I could gather as much information as possible. But the more this goes on, the more this is making me think that this is nothing but a gigantic overreaction. I understand that some people are dying. This is how I came to this. This is how it started for me. We are getting information from 5 different sources early on, 5 different sources. All of them have no credibility and are not trustworthy at all. Chinese government, Chinese media, American government, American media, and the CDC. I don't trust any of those organizations at all with anything. So that's where the news started from. So I was instantly skeptical about it all because I just don't trust any of those people. Now, when you start to hear about people dying, so I still don't know anybody that has it. I don't know anybody that's died from it. I know people that have been in, like Jason Goodman from Crowdsource the Truth and my friend Billy Ray Valentine, who does the Infinite Fringe. Both of those guys are New Yorkers. They both have had video cameras. They've gone from hospital to hospital and they're showing footage. They're like, there's nobody here. There's nobody here. There's ambulance drivers. They're interviewing ambulance drivers that are leaning up against the ambulance, waiting to do something. My friend Jason goes up, who's a reporter. He goes, let me ask you, how many coronavirus cases have you had? He's like, a few. He goes, well, like a few, like 2 or a few, like 100. And he goes, 3. He goes, all right, well, and they all had coronavirus. Did you test them? How do you know? And he goes, no, we didn't test them. They just had the symptoms. So we assume that that's what they are, but 3. So he's like, okay, so you've been doing this for like a week now and you've had 3. And he's like, that's right. He's like, and you don't even know for sure if those 3 have the virus. He's like, that's correct. He's like, what's going on here? And the guy's like, I don't know. I don't, so there's that. And then there's other people that are like, my uncle died from it. And so, and I'm not going to discount that.
No, of course not.
But I don't know. I don't know. There's a disconnect. There are some people that have a very different version of reality. To them, it is as real as anything has ever been. Like my friend, like I said, Billy Ray Valentine is out there filming hospitals saying there's nobody at the hospital. But then he's also saying, I have friends that have had family members die. So he's like, I know that the alternative media is saying all this stuff is fake, and he's in the alternative media. And he's like, and I know I should be saying all these things are fake because I went to the hospital and there was nobody there. He goes, but I also know people that have family members that have actually died. So he's like, I'm thinking that it's real. So it's real for some people. It's not real for other people. It doesn't even, I'll tell you what, in terms of what it's done to us as a society and the economy, doesn't even matter whether it's real or exaggerated or totally fake, because the damage has been done and it has screwed everything up, and it's created, even more division between us. You've got half the people saying this is nonsense, and then you've got the other half saying, don't get within 6 feet of me or I'll call the police, or you're going to the store and you don't have a uniform on and you're not social distancing and you've been reported. And you're like, fuck you. So there's a lot of this really like unfortunate panic, and you don't know how much of it is true or not.